Good afternoon to each and everyone. Today, I will give a view on the effective classroom management. Per school system is all about the what we need to teach. The problem is it doesn't translate into actual learning. It's time to change the methods and approaches. We talk about the what and we don't talk about the how. How do you teach your students in such a way we're developing their social skills, their emotional skills, their cognitive skills, and their academic skills? How do you teach in such a way to empower students? Hello, my name is Orlando Echore. For the 10 years of service as a public school teacher, I encountered different challenges in the classroom and different work environment. From working in different fields, I have gained valuable knowledge and experiences. I want to share all the things I have learned from the various seminars I attended, but because of many works or reports that we need to accomplish, I cannot share it all. But today, I will share with you some slides from the international seminar I attended about how to teach students with many challenges in a classroom setting. This certificate of participation was given to me during the awarding of certificates last January 29, 2022. Okay, let us start. We know that our learners have learning differences, right? How can we teach them with a large number in one section? I will share with you the Universal Design for Learning to Become a Great Teacher by Miss Tobiloba Ajayi. Before we go further, let us take a look first to the webinar overview. First, insight into the diverse needs of children in a classroom setting. Common difficulties faced by teachers to teach children with diverse needs. Universal Design for Learning or UDL and its application in a classroom setting. This time, let us talk about diversity in the classroom. Diversity in the classroom is the deliberate process of including and involving people from a range of different experiences to learn together. This process, the deliberate process, will allow to critically examine an issue and to come to an agreement which will inform decision making. It can range from differences in the gender, ethnicity, race of learners to different abilities that the student possess. From the differences in the gender, ethnicity, race of our learners, there is already a diversity in our classroom. We must aware to these differences so that we can plan a learner-centered instruction for individual. Children with diverse needs in a classroom setting. Research has shown that in any given classroom or any given day, there is at least one student with a difference in the classroom. Differences in terms of first is physical appearance. Some students get bullied, and this can be a factor that affects their learning performance. Interests and preferences. A student can experience more than one type of interest concurrently. We must know what educational modality is suited to their interest. Skills sets. As a teacher, we must aware to the skill sets of our students because some students are good in critical thinking skills but others are not. The fourth one is the capability and capacity, and the last is the learning needs of learners. The role of teachers in a classroom setting. The goal of a teacher is to first, Model behaviors that respect and accept individual differences. Second, encourage learners to notice the way in which they are different from each other and think of ways that they can support each other to succeed. Next is encourage learners to find areas of commonalities. Additional support for children with special needs. Children with special needs would have unique needs compared to their peers like first, the need for one-on-one support. Through this, the teacher can get to know their students fully and keep track to their progress. Second, the need for frequent breaks, the need for curriculum modifications, the need for safe sensory plays, the need for accommodations to help them show what they know. What is the difference between modifications and accommodations? When we say modification, it is a changes to the curriculum or expected learning outcomes from students. When we say accommodation, it is a changes to how children show what they know. The role of teachers for children with special needs. To understand the unique challenges faced by every child, to gain insights on how these challenges uniquely affect the child, to prepare and support the needs of every child in the classroom without disrupting the learning process. Challenges faced by teachers teaching children with diverse needs in a classroom. These are the common challenges experienced by teachers in the classroom. First, a rigid curriculum. Basically, it means a major mental shift from trying to standardize and make students alike to valuing and nurturing their diversity. Second, lack of sufficient support staff to support children with diverse needs. And third, lack of adequate teacher training. Fourth, stigmatization and prejudice. Some students are afraid from criticism and discrimination. And last, lack of parental support for inclusion. Decoding Universal Design for Learning or UDL. When something is universal, it applies to everyone. So when hearing the term universal design for learning, it makes sense to imagine it is a blanket format that covers all students. But is that really what UDL is all about? Okay, let us define first universal design for learning. It is the deliberate design of learning experiences and spaces in such a way that they can be accessed, understood, and used to the greatest extent possible. It involves designing the learning environment in the most independent and natural manner possible without the need for modifications, adaptations, or specialized solutions. Is universal design for learning only applicable to students with learning and attention issues? First, let me ask you this. Have you ever used an automatic door? Let's face it, if you have two legs and two arms that work, you're not the person the door was designed for. However, if your hands are full of groceries or you're at the end of an exhausting day of work, an automatic door is quite useful. The same idea applies in the classroom. While universal design for learning does greatly benefit students with learning and attention issues, it is also beneficial for the average student. Each student has their own specific strengths and weaknesses. This can have absolutely nothing to do with attention disorders or learning disabilities. It is simply how their unique brain takes in and processes information most easily. By applying universal design for learning in the classroom, all students are allowed to take in, digest, and express information in the way that is easiest for them. This improves the learning experience for everyone and helps each student to expand his or her knowledge of the subject without the constraints of the traditional classroom. There are three principles of UDL. The first principle is multiple means of representation. This is the what of learning. Presenting lessons in multiple ways. Present the lesson at least in 4 ways to ensure that every child in the class has at least one access point to the curriculum. Allowing students to choose the methods by which they take in information allows for all types of students to thrive as they interact with subject materials. Customization is the key here. This involves providing multiple ways to assimilate subject materials, such as textbooks, audio files, digital books, or images and graphs. It also implies customization and flexibility within those formats. With this kind of flexibility, students have access to the material that best suits to their needs. This is useful for children with special needs. The second principle of UDL is multiple means of engagement. This is the why of learning. Provide multiple ways of engagement with the lesson that is being presented. Have at least 4 access points. Everything starts with how students engage with the class and the subject. This principle encompasses the ideas of motivation, building on the interests of the students. The area of engagement also helps students to see the reasons why they should learn and what they are learning, and makes it relevant to their life. This also includes helping students become self-motivated by guiding them through rubrics and allow for self-reflection and personal goals. The goal of engagement in UDL to give students purpose and motivation to learn. The third principle of UDL is the means of action and expression. This is the how of learning. Learners must be given multiple ways of showing what they know. Always have a minimum of 4 ways. Once students have taken in the information, it's time for them to express and show what they've learned. This principle of universal design for learning takes into account the differences of students' manner of expression. Flexibility is provided in the way that students show their knowledge of the subject, meaning they can choose not to perform a test and instead option for a more adaptive expression that fits their strengths. And expression also touches on the idea of goal setting for students. Here, teacher helps students set goals for learning and guide students through monitoring their own progress. The goal of action and expression in this principle is to help students to become more strategic and goal-directed. The access points for learning. To make learning easier for all students, teachers needs to first understand the four dominant learning styles, the what we so called VARC, or V stands for visual, A stands for auditory, R stands for read and write, and the K stands for kinesthetic learning style. Plan lesson using these 4 access points for learning. Under visual, learn by seeing, we have the charts, graphs, graphic organizers, lesson outlines, picture aids, and PowerPoints. Under auditory, the learn by hearing, we can use read alouds, listening centers, verbal instructions, discussions, repeat to a friend, etc. Under read and write, learn by reading and writing, we can use books and text, dictionaries, note takings, and under kinesthetic, learn by doing, incorporate body movement, uh, tactile, touch feel, hands on, etc. Okay, thank you for watching and listening. Have a nice day.